The WNBA Draft ratings are officially in, and boy, oh boy, do we have some things to talk about.
Let's cut straight to it. The 2024 WNBA Draft pulled in a respectable 1.3 million viewers. Sounds okay, right? But then you look at last year, the 2023 Draft, the one where Caitlin Clark declared absolutely exploded with a peak of over 3 million and an average of 2.45 million viewers. That's right. This year was down by roughly 49% compared to last year's main event. Almost half the audience just vanished. This wasn't a minor fluctuation. It was a seismic shift, and it instantly clarified something crucial about star power. But what exactly does that massive drop signify? It comes down to a critical distinction most people miss.
For the last few months, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Paige Bueckers is a draw. Me personally, I think she's a star, but I'm not exactly convinced that she is a draw. You'll find a lot of stars, but there's only a handful of draws. There's only a handful of people over the past 40 or 50 years who have the impact, the drawing power to elevate the product into the mainstream. Whether or not Paige Bueckers is a star or a draw, that remains to be seen. Judging by the ratings for the Dump Diver Draft the other night, Paige Bueckers is not a mainstream draw yet. WNBA drew 1.3 million viewers the other night for the draft on ESPN. Now, that number, it can be credited 100% to Paige Bueckers because every other player involved was completely unknown.
See, you can be an incredible generational talent, a true star who dominates on the court, wins championships, and racks up accolades. Paige Bueckers? She fits that description perfectly. She's got game, everybody knows that. But there's something else entirely: being a draw. A draw is the rare magnetic force that compels millions who don't normally watch a sport to tune in, pack arenas, and create national headlines just by showing up. The numbers from these two drafts couldn't be clearer. While 1.3 million viewers is a strong number for the WNBA, 2.45 million was something else entirely. It was a Caitlin Clark number. It proves she isn't just a star. She's the draw the league has desperately needed for decades, and no amount of media narrative or hype machine can change what those numbers scream. But why is there such a pushback against acknowledging this?
Although 1.3 million is a great number for the WNBA, it is significantly below what Caitlin Clark drew last year. Matter of fact, it's 50% lower than what Caitlin Clark drew last year.
You're a great college player, like Caitlin was. The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning.
Cheyenne, I apologize, by the way. That's so embarrassing.
Even longtime broadcaster Tim Wilson didn't hold back, saying,
I'm here with Anissa and Rakia, and we are holding it down right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
It's okay.
Sorry. What?
Go ahead, say your name.
Cheyenne Zellers. I'm so sorry. That is embarrassing.
A big part of the friction seems to come from the old guard, figures like UConn's legendary coach, Geno Auriemma. For years, Geno has built one of the most dominant dynasties in college sports. Yet, he's also cultivated a reputation for seemingly pointed critiques when it comes to the players and programs outside his sphere who challenge that dominance, particularly Caitlin Clark. While Clark was shattering records and bringing unprecedented attention to the college game, Geno's commentary often felt dismissive, passive-aggressive jabs, downplaying her historic numbers, and painting her record-breaking success as somehow less significant than, say, winning a title. It felt less like expert analysis and more like guarding the castle gates against an outsider who dared to redefine the game's biggest stars. This attitude wasn't just confined to post-game interviews, and its influence seemed palpable elsewhere. And what happened next would shock everyone, or perhaps not at all.
2025 second most viewed WNBA draft of all time with an average of 1.25 million viewers with a peak of 1.46 million viewers, up 119% versus 2023. And I know what the question may be, 2023, 2020. Well, Ben, just out of curiosity, because we're all curious around here, right? We all want to be well informed. What is it compared to the 2024? It's down 49%. 49% of the audience said, yeah, I'll go watch paint dry instead. In fact, some people, Jason Whitlock, he didn't even realize the WNBA draft took place the other night. He found that out the next morning, that Paige Bueckers and the WNBA draft had actually taken place. Last year, 2.45 million, peaked with 3.09 million, up 307% from the previous high back in 2004.
That lack of organic buzz, that feeling of perhaps guarding against the phenomenon of last year, seemed to permeate the 2024 draft broadcast itself. Compared to the energy, anticipation, and polish of the 2023 event, this year felt different. The vibe was off. Interviews felt awkward. Names were mispronounced. The overall presentation lacked the electric energy of a watershed moment. It felt less like a celebration of the future of the league and more like a mandatory viewing that everyone knew was living in the shadow of what happened just 12 months prior. It was the difference between an event that had to be manufactured and one that simply had to be seen. Because ultimately, those ratings aren't just abstract figures.
601,000 from 2004. So 2024 was up 307%. From 2004, 1.06 million women viewers was the 2024 draft. Now here we go, folks. This is when we get into the nooks, into the crannies, and into the fun. Why was last year's draft such a big deal? Well, Caitlin Clark was getting drafted. Reason number one, Caitlin Clark getting drafted. Reason number two, why it was such a big deal. Well, Caitlin Clark was going number one overall. And the third reason why, calling a spade here, these three women, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink. Perfect storm. A perfect storm, a perfect bill of goods, 2.45 million in 2025. We're already closer to 2004 numbers than we were to 2025 numbers.
Ratings translate directly into dollars, ad revenue, sponsor deals, media rights. A 49% drop isn't just a stat, it's a problem. It shows that the massive new audience that briefly tuned in saw something unique last year that wasn't present this year. And what was that? Caitlin Clark's unprecedented impact. We're not just talking about scoring titles here, though she certainly owned those. We're talking about shattering the all-time NCAA scoring record, men's or women's, a record that stood for 50 years. She didn't just break it, she annihilated it, regularly draining logo threes like layups. But she wasn't just a scorer, she also led the nation in assists multiple times. Think about that. The most prolific scorer and one of the best passers. That's a statistical anomaly. A walking triple-double threat who dominated in ways college basketball has simply never seen before, man or woman. This kind of singular, record-breaking dominance is myth-making. It's why millions tuned in, not just to see a team win a title, but to witness history being made nightly by one player. Yet, despite this undeniable historic impact, the narrative often gets twisted.
Didn't you tell us that in 2004 it was 601,000? My point exactly. They still haven't rebounded from the days of 2004. They still haven't managed to maintain that same audience from 2004. Until Caitlin Clark showed up. Until Caitlin Clark arrived on the scene, and then they're going to boast about a measly 1.25 million. You guys want to know what's funny about 1.25 million? 1.25 million is closer to the 601,000 in 2004 than it is to the 1 million people disappeared. 1.2 million people, to be fair, disappeared. We can spin that as many ways as we want. The trend is already coming back down. The trend is already coming back down. Juju Watkins next year draft, 1.09 million. Oh, another 1 million view draft. But we went from 2.4 to 1.2 to now 1.09. Who's after Juju? My point exactly. We're already forecasting a 2027 draft of 650,000.
Unlike Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers has been embraced with open and hairy arms into the WNBA. Players have embraced her potentially in ways that we don't even know about. More importantly, the mainstream media has embraced her. And I'm starting to wonder if this media-created rivalry that is building between Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark will completely overshadow Angel Reese.
It's become increasingly obvious that parts of the media are actively trying to steer the conversation, perhaps even manufacture a new face or rivalry to replace the organic phenomenon of Caitlin Clark. The bias in coverage has been glaring. Clark is constantly dissected, her facial expressions, her defense, every single misstep is amplified and debated. Meanwhile, other players like Paige Bueckers often receive overwhelmingly positive, almost Teflon-coated coverage, even when their statistics or broader impact haven't reached the same historic levels. It feels less like objective analysis and more like a coordinated effort. Some have speculated about the uncomfortable reasons why this bias exists, but regardless of the motivation, the result is a clear pattern of unequal treatment designed to prop up some while scrutinizing others. This doesn't feel like celebrating the game. It feels like trying to control the narrative, and the fans are noticing. This deliberate attempt to shape the story might be having unintended, damaging consequences, and what happened next would shock everyone. Or perhaps not at all.
I've seen Paige Bueckers across social media for the last 5 years, it feels like. She's an elite female college basketball player. Had some knee injuries that she's rebounded from, but she's healthy right now. So she kind of sits behind Caitlin Clark. And I think that makes her a fade for me because I think the Caitlin Clark shadow is real. I think Caitlin Clark is so dominant in changing the game.
Some of the reactions, people aren't going to let it skip that we're not comparing it to 2024, down 49%. Shout out to you, Jar Jar Binks. He had to let him know twice. Big win for the WNBA draft. Yeah, they did over 1 million. Big win. They're closer to 2006 numbers, 2004 numbers than they were to 2024 numbers. You guys get the point. Why skip 2024? Does 2024 not exist? Great showing. Everything is compared to BC, before clock. That's right. We have a BC and we have an AC type of era in the WNBA. Guess 2024 never happened. I wonder why all the numbers are always compared to 2023. We all know why. 1.25 isn't dominating. You maybe haven't been following the ratings. 1.25 is a regular Caitlin Clark game on a weekend. That's regular to us. That's nothing. That's nothing to us. It is what it is.
The WNBA and its media partners were handed a golden ticket with Caitlin Clark. She brought in millions of new viewers, created unprecedented buzz, and put the league on the radar of people who'd never watched before. Instead of fully embracing that unique organic momentum and building on it, it seems like they're attempting a pivot, trying to rely on committee, pushing established stars, or manufacturing new rivalries might feel safer, more controllable to the league's power brokers, but the draft ratings suggest it's a risky gamble. That massive viewership drop is a stark warning sign. It indicates that the unique ingredient that brought in the record numbers last year, the Caitlin Clark factor, is missing, and the audience that tuned in for that is already starting to check out. You can't artificially replicate genuine gravitational pull, and trying to might cost the league the historic opportunity it just received. So, what does all of this tell us? And what happened next would shock everyone, or perhaps not at all.
I've also noticed that the media has been overwhelmingly positive in their coverage of Paige Bueckers. Now, this is pure speculation on my part, but this is what I think the media is doing. The spankers in the media actually believe that Caitlin Clark is popular because she's white. They think little girls idolize her because she lacks melanin. They think grown men watched women's basketball for the first time because a white girl was dominating the sport. I know for normal people it sounds ridiculous, but this is how our media thinks. I think the media is creating this rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, hoping that Paige Bueckers will become the new face of the WNBA. The media will continue demonizing Caitlin Clark while praising her rival. And they're hoping that people will instantly follow Paige Bueckers because she also lacks melanin. You see, the media is fine with Paige being the face of the WNBA because she's already proven to be a loyal comrade. They can depend on her, maybe even control her. They can't do that with Caitlin Clark, either because she is unwilling or she's realized that she does not need the media to be a mainstream draw.
You guys are about to find out, no offense to the Paige fans, you're going to realize that once this season starts, it's still going to be Caitlin Clark.
The
One,
2024
in jersey
WNBA
sales.
draft ratings were more than just numbers. They were a definitive statement from the audience. They showed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Caitlin Clark possesses a level of mainstream drawing power the league hasn't seen, perhaps ever. Attempts to downplay her impact, push alternative narratives, or manufacture rivals don't seem to be fooling the millions who tuned in specifically for her unique brand of history-making basketball. The league has a choice: fully embrace the phenomenon that just changed everything, or risk losing the unprecedented audience it finally captured by clinging to old formulas and perceived biases. The future of women's basketball is here, but the question remains: is the establishment willing to accept who is truly leading the way?